All right, man. Let's talk about Iron Claw, man. I went to see this movie Saturday. I just didn't really get around to doing the movie review, man. It's kind of one of them holidays, bro. I'll be glad when Christmas and this shit be over with. It's just never a good time. The year I dread this time of year, but nonetheless, we here. Let's talk about Iron Claw. It was a really, 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 really good movie about the Von Erich brothers, and all in all, it was I think it was five of them. Okay, so I'll read the synopsis to the movie. It's a true story of inseparable Von Erich brothers who made history in the intensely competitive world of professional wrestling in the early 1980s. Through tragedy and triumph under the shadow of their domineering father and coach, the brothers seek larger than life immortality on the biggest stage in the sport. Now, you got to understand too that and by the way, Google users give it a 92%, IMDb give it 81%, Rotten Tomatoes give it 89%, Metacritic gives it I let you guys see this stuff, gives it 71%. I would say the movie was like an 8 out of 10, 75 out of 10 at worst. It's kind of hard trying to judge it seeing once. Now I only knew this about this because somebody at work, my boss told me about the movie because he was talking about Zach Efron. He's from Shameless. But it was a really good story movie because at the end of the day, um, uh, it was you know, it was back in there when NWA. Okay, it was the NWA. They was fighting in before the WWE came about. I believe it also showed in the movie how the father ended up running the NWA. He was supposed to be the world champion, never got a chance to be a world champion, and he ended up running the NWA. He gave it to the second oldest because the original Jack Jr., his father's first son, his father and mother first son, he passed away at 5 years old. So Kevin Von Erich, he ended up controlling the company, and his father tried to intimidate. He ended up selling the company. Now I think he ended up selling it to, I don't know who he sold it to. I think it might have been end up being WWF, and then obviously we know WWF was forced to change to WWE because of the World Federation, something with the animal World Life Animal something. So they had to turn into World Wrestling Entertainment because of WWF, something with animals. They own the name, and so for the most part, it really showed kind of how they had tough beginnings and how their father was trying to become the world champion. He never was able to become the world champion. And then, the second oldest, which was the oldest that stayed alive, which was played by Zach Efron's character, I think was Kevin Von Erich. He ended up, basically, you know, taking over, getting, posed, he ended up turning pro first. Then his brother Kerry, he was over there in the Olympics or whatever, and they canceled the Olympics that year. I think it was due to, I don't forget what it was. They canceled the Olympics, but their family was cursed. All right. He ended up taking on his grandmother's maiden name or his grandmother's last name of Von Erich's the father, and the name was ended up being cursed. Um, so they just constantly had tragedy. They lost his first son, passed away, and then the movie showed kind of how Kerry, the one that's the shorter one, the one that's on the right, he was the one that was supposed to go to the Olympics and get gold medal. They canceled the Olympics, something to do, I forget what it was, something to do in the world. They canceled it, and they was like, his father was like, they always taking things from us, and if you train the hardest and you be the strongest and the toughest, you can overcome anything. So he ended up turning pro. So the other two sons, Kevin being the oldest that was alive, and I think Lance Von Erich, they end up turning pro. And what's so funny about it is that Lance Von Erich, he ended up getting his title shot first, because what Lance could do was he can talk on the mic, while Kevin really wasn't much of a talker. Lance was really good on the microphone talking, and they gave a title shot to him first. And when he got his title shot versus Ric Flair, he was supposed to go fight in Japan, do these promos. and then he was gonna be fighting Ric Flair for the world title in Texas, where they were stationed at. And it's really no spoilers because most people know the story. He ended up passing away. They showed he was doing it looks like he was doing steroids, and at his Kevin's the movie shows at Kevin's wedding that Lance is in the bathroom throwing up blood. And he told him to go to the hospital. He said he'd be all right. So he ended up going to Japan, to get his, to fight the fight before he got his title shot. And he ended up dying from his intestines like rupturing. I believe it was his intestines ended up rupturing, and he ended up passing away. So that was another thing of the tragedy. That's another tragedy was um that was another tragedy. You know, so you know, so and that was unfortunate. Some of this tragedy kept hitting home so hard, man. It was crazy to think that this was based on a real story, man. So at the end of the day, they down a brother, right? So then Kerry, they had to decide between Kevin and Kerry who got the title shot. So Kevin said, after the brother said he'd step up and take the title shot for his brother, Kerry said no, they'd step up. So they flipped the coin for it. The dad made him flip a coin. And at the end of the day, they flipped the coin, and Kerry, won the title. He got to fight Ric Flair, end up winning the title, and then he goes on this this motorcycle. It just showed him driving on a motorcycle, and then next thing you know, the next scene, he's limping to the he's limping to the refrigerator on one leg. So he ended up, kind of like losing his leg. So, he ended up continuing to still want to wrestle, but he ended up getting cut. They ended up saying they wasn't renewing his contract. He called his brother Kevin, and he like, bro, like I can't go through this. I'm mentally messed up right now. He said I'll be there in the morning. He told his father to look after him, and then right when he got there, he committed suicide. Yep. He committed suicide. So Kevin choked his dad out for not being there and not listening to him and all this type of stuff. And it got intense. So they got two sons that died by one son that died by obviously ruptured intestines, and then they had another son that passed away from suicide. And then they tried to turn the other brother into I think right before, my bad, the other brother ended up dying first. He wasn't a wrestler though. David Von Erich, he really wasn't a wrestler, so they tried to turn him into a wrestler. And right before he died, he ended up basically injuring his shoulder, and something happened in the surgery where he had to go. He went into a coma. You know what I'm saying? He went into a coma. Something went wrong with the surgery, and then he ended up committing suicide too. So they had two sons that died by suicide, and one son died when he was younger, and then another son died, due to the ruptured Achilles from look like ruptured intestines, and look like from steroid use. So yeah, long story short, Kevin ended up getting his title shot, and all the stress that was going on in a family, he ended up getting disqualified from he did they father special move, their family special move, the Iron Claw, and he kept doing it. He kept doing it even when Ric Flair reached the ropes. He kept doing it, and when he reached the ropes, he just snapped. He just snapped, and when he snapped, he got disqualified. Ric Flair came into the locker room and told him like, "Yo, I thought you was the soft brother." He said, "Man, I didn't know you had it in you." He said, "Let's go get a drink." He like, "No, if you don't want to get no, if you change your mind, I'll be down at he said I'll be down at he said I'll be down at the Holiday Inn Express and shit. You know what I'm saying? So uh to me that was wild, bro. It was crazy. And then long story short, what's so crazy about it, Kevin ended up changing one of his sons. I don't know if it's both his sons' last name, but he ended up changing their last name to his their original last name because they all changed their name to Von Erichs. He changed their last name to their original last name, and he stayed away from his son for a while because he didn't want to curse them. Then he came back, and it showed that I think they ended up him and his wife ended up having 4 sons, and they ended up having 13 grandchildren, and um, they showed their family picture and uh uh at the end of the movie, and at the end of the day, man, for him to be you know I had a picture. Hold on. For him to still kind of be like, uh, last guy standing, and they bought a big old ranch and all that type stuff. I can't find the picture, but they bought a ranch. And you know, at the end of the day, he ended up selling the company, and that was history. But it was a great movie, man. I say 8 out of 10, man. It was fantastic. I heard some people had some issues about the guy who played Ric Flair when he did the promo. It's on YouTube. Somebody posted on YouTube. Well, it's not like, it's only one Ric Flair. I thought it was an very intense moment in the movie. It may not have been as swagged out as Ric Flair, but it was a great movie, man. And if you was in the, I know everybody, wrestling really became the platinum standard when it came to The Rock and Stone Cold. That's when they pay-per-view numbers went through the roof. But to be honest, man, like the 80s and the 70s, that in the 90s all laid the groundwork for what wrestling would become. So, hey, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the movie review playlist, hit the link tree, find me on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. Appreciate the love and support. Let me know what you girls and guys think in the comment section. Peace.